At the moment, I'm in probably one of the most dangerous types of terrain in the whole country. How deep do you think that hole is there? In some ways, it's more dangerous than, I don't know, walking along the Coolin Ridge on Skye, or doing the Tower Ridge on Ben Nevis, or people who walk along the Anakeegak on Glencoe. Now, I say in some ways it's more dangerous, but in reality it's only more dangerous in one way. People who go to the Coolin Ridge or Tower Ridge or the Anakeegak, they know what they're letting themselves in for, and they come prepared. And more importantly, they're properly equipped. This type of area, the main problem with it is it doesn't appear dangerous. As an example, there's a major footpath 950 meters away in that direction. So I could walk on a bearing of 136 and I'd arrive at the footpath. By the way, to walk on a bearing of 136 from here would be, well, it'd be a big mistake. Now, it's late at night now, but I came up here earlier on in the daytime and I made some video. So you can watch that and then I'll come back to you and have another chat. So here I am back at the same trig point. And as I said, there's a major footpath, 950 meters in that direction. Let's have a look, 136 degrees, so it's that direction. So I'm going to head off down now and let's have a look at see if there's any obstacles in our path. Oh, by the way, the peaks that you can see behind me, they're the famous Yorkshire Three Peaks. People climb them normally in 24 hours, normally for charity. This is Pennygent, Ingleborough and Whernside. So I'm going very carefully in this area to make sure I choose the right route. So I've come down on my bearing, 136 bearing from the trig point, and this is what I come across. Can you see this line of holes behind me, and it carries on that way? There's also a parallel line of holes just slightly down the hill. I won't show you on the map, I'll show you on Google Earth. There you go, can you see that? It's a double line of shake holes, and it would be ill-advised at night if you're inexperienced to try and come down this hill. Let's have a closer look at a couple of these shake holes. I'm not going to go too near it. As you can see, there's a hole in the bottom. I've got a rock. Now, if I really started to slide, I'll put the microphone here so it gets a better sound. Now how deep do you think that hole is there? Here we go. Here's a rock. About 2 seconds. What's that? 2 seconds, I'm guessing here. I'll try and work it out when I get home. I'm thinking that's about 20 meters straight down. What's that, about 65 feet? So if you started sliding down this bank, feet first, down you'd go. You know, it's they are quite scary things, shake holes. Let's have a look at another one. So here's the next shake hole in the line. What do you think with this one? How deep do you think this hole is? Let's give it a go. Put the microphone there so I can get it, so you can hear. Oh, 2.5. It's about two. It's slightly longer, that one. So I don't know. So I'm gonna say about 2.5 seconds. So it's more than 20 meters, more than 65 feet straight down. So if you're walking down from here, so the trig point's up there. You're walking down. When you get to this point here, you are going to slip because it's too steep. Especially the snow's building up here. The snow's melted here, but give it a few weeks and this area will be covered in snow. But that hole will still be there. Well, if you end up down that hole, it could be problematical. You can think about shake holes as infant and newborn potholes. And just like human infants, shake holes only ever get bigger. So top tip, stay away from them if you can. Now, if you do manage to get through the parallel lines of shake holes on your 136 bearing, just below that you have this. I'll drop this onto your map so you can see where it is. So you've got this line of small crags. Now at the moment they're covered in ice and they're very slippy, covered in very thin layer of snow. Would you like to come down this in pitch black at night? I definitely wouldn't try and come down something like this at night in these conditions of ice and freezing temperatures. Once again, so let's forget all about our track going straight down to the path on a bearing of 136. We need to find another route. So I've come north and this is what I come across. Can you see this circular depression in the ground? Basically the whole lot has dropped and down there is the actual pothole itself. So eventually, I'm not going to walk on it, but this lot will just disappear. So if we can't go north, maybe we can go west from the trig point. Well, here I am. I've come across to the west, and as you can see in front of me is another massive pothole. This one must be 30 meters that way by 20 meters that way. There's another one behind me, which is 20 meters radius, and there's another one about 50 meters down the hill there. So I imagine these are all linked together, but basically there's a line of potholes, and they're a lot bigger than shake holes. It's not advisable to be up here in the dark. So if we can't go south, we can't go west, and we can't go north, that really leaves only one direction that we can go, and even that isn't, you know, devoid of hazards. So the question still remains, I'm here at this trig point and I need to navigate off. So how do you navigate in dangerous terrain at night? If I had to give you just one tip, it would be go slowly and carefully. Is that a good way of putting it? But let's look at it in a bit more detail. What exactly do we have to do slowly and carefully? I'm going to assume that you've got all the right equipment. I'm also going to assume that you know how to use that equipment. So you know how to use your map and your compass. Now, two main bits of advice. Firstly, the most important thing is tell somebody where you're going. Not just a vague sort of, I'm going up these hills. Tell them exactly where you're going. Tell them your intended route. Tell them what time you're going to come back. Tell them if things go wrong, what are your escape routes. That sort of thing. And don't just tell them, give them it in writing. Take the time to write it down. Now, on my website, you can download a route plan. You can change it in any way you want. And unlike a lot of websites, I don't ask you for email addresses or telephone numbers or any other personal information. Just go to the page and click download. Most importantly, after that, take some time to fill it in and give it to somebody before you set off. It's vital, that piece. Next bit of advice is don't do anything that you're not confident with. There's an old saying in navigation and map reading, which I firmly believe in. Always know where you are. You know, it's... I know where I am because I'm right by this trig point. But if I intend to go down to the path, once I set off, I need to know where I am. Even in these conditions, in the dark, I need to always know where I am. Now, I can count my paces, I can use timing, I can use lots of different methods, but I must know where I am at all times. As you saw in the daytime videos, in this area, it's really important. Now, from here, I'm going to have to use my map and a compass to get off because, as you saw from the video from earlier on, I'm going to have to navigate between big potholes, lines of shake holes, open mine shafts. You know, this is a hazardous area. And I'm going to take it slowly and carefully. Now, I'll drop this onto your screen. So, as you can see on the map, I can't just set off on a bearing and keep going in a straight line because I want to head across to the wall. Now, if I set off on a bearing from here towards the wall, I'm going to go too close to some very big potholes and shake holes. So this is my plan. Let's see if it works. It's on your screen. So from here, I'm going to head to a point which is 450 meters on a bearing of 25 degrees. Now, I normally do 64 paces per 100 meters, but you know, it's dark, so I'll add 10%, and the ground is a bit uneven and it's covered in snow. So it's going to slow me down, so I'll add another 10% to that. So that's a total of, should have worked this out first, should I? What was that? 345 paces. Now, normally I walk at 5 kilometers an hour, but I'm going to go a bit slowly, you know, because of the terrain. So let's say I'm walking at 4k an hour. So to do 450 meters should take me, what's that? Should have worked all this out. 6 minutes 45. So we'll call it 7 minutes. Again, because of the terrain, because of it's dark, I'll add 20%, so that's 2 lots of 10. So that's another, what's that, 1 minute, 20 seconds. So it's going to take me around 8.5 minutes from here to my turning point where I'll need to turn. So let's see what happens. Sorry about this, my microphone batteries have just packed in. It's minus 12 out here, so I don't think they're designed for this type of conditions. So anyway, that's my 450 done. I'm quite confident. So now I need to change to 58 degrees for 170 meters, and that should take me to the wall. Once again, sorry about the sound quality. As I said up there, my microphone batteries have frozen, so they're not working. So hopefully you'll put up with this. Right, I'm quite confident this is my wall here. This is my wall. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn right, handrail this wall all the way down to the next wall junction. I'm not sure even the camera battery is going to last much longer because of the temperature. So will my plan work? Will I escape from this mountain? Well, if you're watching this video, obviously I did. How much fun is this? You know, walking around in total darkness in the mountains. This is so much fun. Anyway, I'll carry on down. If I don't talk to you again in the dark, that's because all the batteries have just died. Even my my map case is actually getting covered in ice. And it's winter's coming, what can you do? Right, I'm going to carry on down here, handrail this wall, and hopefully I'll speak to you later. This is the major track that I'm actually stood on now. I'm not sure you can see it in the dark. So I didn't talk to you at the last junction because the camera battery actually stopped. So hopefully it's going at the moment. So all I need to do now is follow this track back to where I parked my car. What seems like ages ago. So we'll carry on. So here's my top 4 tips for navigating in dangerous terrain. Number 1. I keep emphasizing this is always going to be number 1. Tell somebody where you're going. Tell them exactly where you're going. Tell them what time you're going to return. And if things go wrong, what is your escape route? What is your alternative plan? Number 2, be properly equipped. Not just for what you hope conditions may be like, but what conditions actually may be like. As an example, in my rucksack today, I've got a first aid kit, I've got double torches, I've got a set of waterproofs. There's no forecast for rain today, but I still carry them. I'm not going to labour that point, you know exactly what I mean. Number 3, slow down. Do everything slowly in dangerous terrain. It's not a race, there's no rush. Use the 10% rule. Don't forget, anything that makes walking slower or more difficult, add 10% to your pacing or your timing. Number 4, some people may disagree with this, but I'll put it in. Only use navigation techniques that you're absolutely confident that you can do well. You know, dangerous terrain is not the place to experiment or practice. If I had to throw in a number 5, it may be ill-advised to go into dangerous terrain on your own to make videos. But that's up to you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Time for a coffee break. It's not a bad place to sit. I actually do like trig points. The amount of work and effort that went into building these huge lumps of concrete, and they are so precisely positioned, you can't believe it. I'll show you how precisely positioned they are. Can you see in the front of the trig point there, there's a hole? Can you see the little hole? Hang on, I'll get the camera and zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. These holes here, you can see there's a hole at the bottom there, and there's another one at the other side there. Normally, trig points have these holes, but you can normally only see one because the other three have been concreted up, but this one hasn't. This has still got all four holes, and if you look inside them, there's actually a metal ring. I'll zoom in again. There you go. Can you see inside the hole here? There's a metal tube inside there. These are actually sighting holes. Just shows you how precisely they were positioned. I'll show you what I mean. If you look on the top of the trig point, you can see the spider, which is this thing here, and the theodolite would sit on top of it. It would be screwed into this. These three loops that you can see surrounding it, they're just to put straps on so the theodolite could be tied down if it was in strong wind. Now obviously this hole is, you know, where the theodolite sat, had to be positioned precisely at the point that the Ordnance Survey wanted to. And if you feel inside, you can feel, and if you can hear that, there's actually a metal tube. So when they first came up to make these trig points, what they'd do, let me just zoom out a bit so you can see it. What they would do is they'd come up and they'd build their wooden frame, and before they filled it with concrete, they would position the vertical metal tube that was going to sit below the spider, which is that thing there, and they would also position these four little holes, which also have tubes, and then they would put a plumb bob, you know, a piece of string with a weight on it, down the center of the hole, the vertical hole, and then they would look through these four holes at the side that you can see. There's four holes, and that way they could check that it was precisely positioned over a brass bolt that is drilled into the concrete below the trig point. So that's what those three little holes are for, or sorry, four little holes. I said normally they're concreted up and they leave one exposed, you know, open, and that's just to allow any moisture that does get inside the trig point, so it's got somewhere to evaporate out of. There you go. I told you I like trig points. I just started to waffle again, haven't I? I'll delete this, don't worry. I won't put it on the video.